the president is the head of the food chain when it comes to the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice is an arm of the executive branch, and the president is the guy when it comes to the executive branch. But I think short of the president, the Department of Justice is not going to be motivated. It's not going to be driven by public sentiment.
Randy, I think we should start by considering the timing of this. Can we read anything into why the DOJ is interviewing Ghislaine Maxwell, has interviewed Ghislaine Maxwell while she's serving time? Why now?
Well, certainly there has been a lot of focus and a lot of attention paid to Jeffrey Epstein of late. And as a result of Jeffrey Epstein being dead, the person in the next best position to know what Jeffrey Epstein did and who he did it with would be Ms. Maxwell. So she is a logical choice to be spoken to.
In terms of what we can expect to understand, expect to learn at this point, her own lawyer said she answered every question honestly and to the best of her ability. But should we not bear in mind that she is serving a 20-year sentence for sex trafficking and other crimes at this prison in Florida? How credible does this make her?
Well, it's difficult to answer that question because while Mr. Marcus indicated that Ms. Maxwell answered every question, invoked no privilege, never declined to answer a question, what we don't know is what she was asked. We don't know if she was asked questions about other people that she could cooperate against, because she's got two ways to get home. One way to get home is that if she helps the United States government prosecute someone else or prosecute other people, at that point, in exchange for her cooperation, the government would go back to the judge that sentenced her and say, hey, judge, Ghislaine Maxwell helped us out. She cooperated. She provided what we call substantial assistance. She's allowing the government to prosecute other people. Accordingly, please resentence her. So we don't know if the questions that were put to her were to get answers to help the government prosecute other people. We don't know if the questions put to her concerned President Trump. And were the questions put to her designed to help the Department of Justice determine whether or not the stories that are being told about Donald Trump are in fact false. And if the information provided by Ms. Maxwell would confirm that the stories being told about President Trump are false, then that would be another path by which Ghislaine Maxwell might be able to get home, because in exchange for satisfying the American public that President Trump has done nothing wrong, and in exchange for satisfying President Trump so he can announce to the world, see, it's the left media, it's the crazy people out there, it's the Democrats trying to wreck me, I did nothing wrong. Ghislaine Maxwell is in the next best position to confirm that. In exchange for that, Ghislaine Maxwell could get home by way of a pardon or by way of her sentence being commuted.
It's fascinating, Randy, and forgive me if this is a stupid question, but all of that assumes Ghislaine Maxwell is motivated by getting home. In your experience, is every criminal keen to get home?
Everybody wants to get home. In fact, in this country, there have been fascinating studies that have been done to address what we call false confessions. It is amazing what someone will say if he or she believes that he or she can go home. And there have been demonstrated instances where people have given false confessions because they were led to believe by a detective or by a police officer or by a special agent, just tell me what I need to know and you can go home. And sometimes that means I'll lie and tell you something that I didn't do because I believe that if I tell you what you want to hear, you will let me go home. So certainly Ghislaine Maxwell wants to go home, but that doesn't mean that she's not telling the truth. And it doesn't mean that she is not credible.
Yeah. I noted comments from Maxwell's brother Ian, who told the New York Post that Ghislaine had been preparing new evidence before her meeting with officials from the Justice Department. Here's the quote: "She'll be putting before a court," he suggests, material new evidence that was not available to the defence at her trial in 2021, which would have had a significant impact on its outcome. Now, in the hypothetical that she does have new evidence, why wouldn't that have been used in her trial a couple of years ago? Why would it be new now?
Well, I must tell you that I spoke earlier of two paths that Ghislaine Maxwell can go home. The third path is if her conviction were overturned. Then at that point, there would be a conversation as to whether or not she should be granted bond, granted bail, so she could be released, ostensibly to prepare for another trial. I'm not so sure how solid that pathway is, and quite frankly, I don't think that that is a path that she needs to go down. If she can get home through cooperation, if she can get home through a pardon or through her sentence being commuted, why would she put herself in a position where on her best day, all she would be getting is a new trial? So I wouldn't be surprised if that's not a path that we see Ghislaine Maxwell looking to go down. I don't believe she's interested in getting a new trial. I think she is interested in putting this behind her. Now, what's interesting about what her brother has to say, since she's already been sentenced, and since it's been more than a year since her sentencing, the rules are specific in terms of what a judge can and can't do in terms of resentencing. And one of the things that a judge will be looking for is, hey, wait a minute. Why didn't you do this within the year of you being sentenced? So that's where the new evidence might come in handy, where Ghislaine Maxwell would say, well, hey, judge, this new evidence wasn't available to me back then. Or she might say, hey, judge, the government wasn't interested in hearing what I had to say back then, but the government is interested now. And as soon as they told me they were interested, I provided the information.
And just a final one for you, Randy. What obligation is there on the Department of Justice at this moment to satisfy people one way or the other? It feels like the temperature on this has been dialed up in the last few days. People are searching for answers, and it strikes me that there is a real chance, actually, that whatever the outcome of this latest chapter, that at least some people are going to feel that they've not got the full story one way or the other. The Department of Justice has quite a burden, actually, does it not, to satisfy everyone from the president to the public?
Well, certainly the Department of Justice may feel compelled to satisfy the president. The president is the head of the food chain when it comes to the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice is an arm of the executive branch, and the president is the guy when it comes to the executive branch. But I think short of the president, the Department of Justice is not going to be motivated. It's not going to be driven by public sentiment. Public sentiment is not driving the bus here. What is going to drive the bus here is the Department of Justice's sense of doing the right thing by the president. And of course, the Department of Justice will have to satisfy a judge if, in fact, the Department of Justice goes back to a judge to say, let's resentence her based upon her cooperation. So it's whether it's satisfying the president or satisfying a judge. I think other than that, the Department of Justice is not sleeping later or getting up any earlier as a result of being concerned about public sentiment.
Randy, that's brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks for speaking to us.
Thank you for having me on.